Linking data to your drawings begins by having your engineering database updated and ready to go. Creating and then linking your database to your design drawings will allow you to display data on your drawings and run important drawing reports. The provided example database shows the necessary columns of technical data that can be linked to your device or equipment symbols. After linking, each row of data in the database will then be associated with device symbols with the same reference ID number on the left. The example database can be used as your database by adding rows of data for the equipment you use. Now we can import the database into the drawing by selecting Custom Import from the Data menu and follow the Data Selector wizard. So we go up to the External Data, we're into the Data tab, Custom Import. What do we want to use? Excel Workbook. What workbook do we want to use? Well, I already have one selected, so it's right down in my list. We could browse if we didn't have anything already selected or used. Click Next. What's the range we want to use? Well, we can select a range, but since we already have a database that has the range done for us, we'll just click Next. And here you can also select different rows and columns to use if you had a more extensive database and you didn't want to enter in all those different columns or rows. But since we have a predefined engineering database, we'll just leave that alone and click Next. And our unique identifier will be reference ID. Click Next and Finish. Now you'll see the database has been imported and its default location is at the bottom of the page. And now we can actually link any of these rows to device symbols on the page. So what I've done is I created a small block diagram with one head end and one room and three basically identical devices dropped right from the block diagram stencil right here. So one way I can link data is by selecting any of the shapes or combination of shapes and going down to the database and right-clicking whatever I want that shape to be. Let's call it a subamp. I'll right-click and link to selected shapes. Before I do, you can see that the shape data on the left is all generic. There's nothing specific about it or particular about any manufacturer. But once I link to the selected shapes, you'll see that all that information has been populated in the shapes. And what happened is the reference ID turned from the generic reference ID text to the actual reference ID in the external database. And you can see the link is there to show that we've actually linked different devices in the drawing. Now I could do the same thing again over here and link another. We can also filter by category here. So let's make this a gateway. So if I right-click the gateway and link to the selected shapes, you can see that it's now a gateway with the appropriate color for that control category. And all its associated data is now imported here on the shape data. Another way to link data to devices is to highlight the block device in the block diagram stencil and then just click whatever you want and drag it onto the page. It will automatically create the device and all the data associated with the device. So that's an easy way to link the data as well as create shapes without actually having to pull shapes out of the block diagram stencil. And any updates to the spreadsheet that we saw earlier can then update all the block diagram symbols just by clicking Refresh and Refresh All. Any changes to the original spreadsheet would then be imported automatically just by hitting Refresh. The database can be part of your new template if you choose, so that it's quickly available every time you open up a new project. Right after importing the database to a new and clean project, simply save that drawing as your company template to overwrite the old template.